It sounds unbelievable, but here in Australia, Matt Barrie and his freelancer.com is well on the way to being the eBay of services. The eBay group, of course, does goods. But what Barrie has discovered is that there's a vast army of people prepared to tender their services in a whole range of products. And small enterprises, the corner store, can suddenly get their website designed, their shop redesigned, their software changed, and have that business tendered globally. That transforms the service industries in Australia in just the same way as globalisation transformed manufacturing. And we really haven't understood that yet. Freelancer.com is going to transform the provision of services, not just in Australia, but in the US, in Europe and in Asia. And in the process, it transforms the total labour market. And it does mean that smaller enterprises can compete with big companies in a way they could never do it before. So big companies better watch out with their multi-layered managements. They can be just stripped away in certain areas by this sort of revolution. Matt, you've created an enormous labour force internationally through freelancer.com.
Yep.
Just how big is this?
So we're actually in the top 250 websites worldwide. We have 2.5 million users on our site in just about every country in the world, and we've just completed about 3 weeks ago 1 million projects through the site. So it's actually got scale.
Really? How do you think that's going to change the local and international labour market in the next, say, 2 or 3 years?
What we do effectively is we empower entrepreneurs both in the Western world and the developing world. So in the West, we provide a fantastic productivity tool to basically take your small business or take who you are in terms of individual contributor role in your occupation and help you kind of get yourself to the next level. So if you've got like a corner store somewhere selling gifts or crockery or what have you, you can now transform yourself on a shoestring budget to a sort of version 2.0, selling online, loading all your inventory onto eBay and so forth. So we think we're a great productivity tool for the West at the same time as we deliver technical jobs to the developing world to enable people over there to become entrepreneurs and start service-based organisations in technical areas that were otherwise unavailable to them.
The labour force in, say, Australia is going to have to change, isn't it, in this service area?
Well, I mean, all technology brings change. In Australia, we've got 5.1% unemployment, which is historic lows. We've got wage pressure, we've got technical skills shortage, and we think we provide sort of the workforce that will help Australian businesses get to the next generation.
Which industries are going to be the most transformed?
Well, it remains to be seen. But I think certainly the technology industry is the ones that move very, very rapidly. So areas around software programming and graphic design and so forth. These are industries by their very nature move very, very rapidly. But I think with access to a workforce that will help assist them, they'll move very, 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 very quickly.
Does it get into engineering, into health and things like that?
That's right. I mean, just about any job you can think of now is digitised. So if you design a house, you manipulate a file, which you can then send to a builder or an architect. Software programming, it's a file. Copywriting, you create a Word file or a text file and so forth. So the full spectrum is about 400 different types of jobs that are currently being outsourced on our site, right through to mechanical engineering, civil engineering, architecture, and so on.
How do I know that the person, say in Vietnam, who's doing my computer programming or whatever it might be, how do I know that that person's any good?
Reputation is key, and we have a reputation system just like eBay does. So for every job that you do, you gain a bit of reputation, and the guys at the top of the list, so when people bid on a project, the guys with the highest reputation will be at the top, and the guys with the lowest reputation will be at the bottom. The guys at the very top of the list, they're making almost about $1 million a year. So we've got a guy in India, for example, that makes almost $1 million a year building $65 websites. So the freelancers guard very, very jealously their reputation, and so they don't want to get any black marks against the name. So before you pick someone, so you post a project and people will start bidding. Before you pick anyone, you can actually go ask them for samples of work. You can go through and see every job they've ever done, how much they were paid, their rating, and so on. And the whole industry involves generally use of an escrow system. So you can put funds up front, so the freelancer knows the funds are there. They start work, but they don't get access to those funds until you've got all the work complete and you're happy and you decide you're going to release the funds.
Matt, how did you get into this business?
Well, it's an interesting story. So I used to run a semiconductor company, which is probably the most complicated type of product in the world.
It was a chip company.
Chip company. So we made chips that went into network hardware, and it was a very, very difficult, very capital-intensive business. But after that,
what happened to that one?
It's still going. We transformed it into a software business.
Who got the equity now?
The venture capitalists.
Venture capitalists.
I still got a small shareholding, but after some time off, I was looking for something new to do, and I was trying to get some data entry done. So I was trying to help someone get a web directory up and running. It involved a lot of descriptions of shops and addresses and pictures and so on. It's quite tedious sort of work, and I was trying to get little brothers and sisters to help me with that, and it was too hard. Too hard to get them productive and working and so on. But I posted, in frustration, I went to the internet. And I knew about these sites for a while, but I never gave them a go. But I posted a job. I went away, came back 3 hours later, and I had, I'll do it for $1,000, I'll do it for $500, I'll do it for $300, $200. I eventually had 74 people bidding, and I paid.
Did you pick the lowest one?
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
but
okay.
I paid a team of people in Vietnam $100, and they did the job in 3 days. It was perfect. And so, encouraged me to take a look at it because something very interesting was happening here, and got very excited about effectively the big picture. And the big picture is the fact that there's 6.8 billion people in the world. There's only 2 billion people on the internet. There's another 5 billion people connecting right now. And they're poor, they're hungry, they're driven, and they're on about $10 a day or less, and they're looking for a job.
So who did you buy it from?
I bought it from a guy who lived on a fish farm in Vanuatu. He was a Swedish gentleman, and he was living the outsourcing dream. So the 4-hour work week, he lived on a tropical island. He had no employees, 500,000 users on the site. He had one outsourced customer service agent in the Philippines who actually now runs a...
How much does it cost?
It's undisclosed.
Okay. And what did you do with it when you got it?
So we put resources behind it. So I bought about 10 sites. So that was one of many. So I used that as an initial platform to kind of build a number of sites and amalgamate them in. Had about 500,000 users at the time, had about 5,000 biggest website in the world. And since that time, we've acquired about 10 different sites, built it all up, and now we're in the top 250 worldwide and 2.5 million users.
So who owns the business?
Myself and my partner in the business, who was another IT entrepreneur. Who
no venture capitalists?
No venture capitalists. Yeah.
So you actually made money on the way up as you bought and sold businesses, which you've put into this?
That's right. There were a number of problems with the business model of the original business, and we fixed them up, and then we've been financing all the acquisitions from cash flow.
So where are you getting most of your base clients? Not the people who are doing the work, the people who are wanting work done.
Half the employees are in the US, followed by the UK, and the third biggest employer is actually India, followed by Australia and Canada.
Okay. So the US people are very big users of this.
Massive, huge adopters of the internet and huge adopters of outsourcing online.
And where do you base the business?
It's on the internet. Well, I mean, we're headquartered in Sydney, but we're in every country just about in the world.
Are you going to float it?
Maybe one day.
One day? Yeah.
We'll see.
They give big prices for these things. Yes.
Possibly.
So what are you going to do with this business? How do you see it developing in the next 2 or 3 years? Right.
Well, we want to be the next eBay. So we want to, and we're frankly surprised no one's done it before, but we want to be in every country of the world. We want to be as popular as eBay. And frankly, we think that's fundamentally the premise of buying and selling services online. We don't see any reason why that couldn't be even bigger than the prospect of an eBay, because if you're in Africa, you may not have any money to buy anything, and you may not have an ability to any goods to sell, but you might be able to jump online and start working for someone.
So whereas eBay is working in physical goods,
that's right.
Basically, you're going to work in services.
That's right.
Is that right?
That's right. So build me a website, design for me an iPhone application, design for me a logo, a menu.
How do you market this amongst your corner stores?
Well, that's a tough challenge. How do you reach 6.8 billion people in the world? To date, it's been primarily through search engine optimization, which has been huge for us, which is really just getting high rankings in Google. Affiliate programs, word of mouth has been very, very big for us, and to a certain extent, a very small extent, search engine marketing.
So, what sort of businesses are the big users of this service? We're talking about the location, but what sort of businesses are using most?
It's primarily small businesses. So
it is small.
It's just small businesses.
It is the corner store.
It is the corner store. Yeah, it's large businesses don't use us. Other than, well, I should correct myself. We do see large businesses use us, but it's usually individual contributors who are just trying to get their life made a little bit easier. The graphic design department's busy and they want to get a brochure done, and it's going to take them 3 days, so they just outsource it quietly on the side and get it done in 15 minutes. So, but it's mainly small businesses.
Now, this is going to mean that small businesses can compete with larger businesses in a way they couldn't before.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at Australia, something like 80% of our 2 million small businesses have no employees. They're all family run, they're all sole proprietors, and they have crazy ideas all the time. Wouldn't it be great if I could find a product in China to sell, or if I could do a new menu or a new website, or get more traffic to my website? And what we do is we empower them with a workforce where they can just jump online, post a project in seconds, get people bidding on the job, and go and do it themselves.
So if you're a big company, you should be a little bit worried about this. Okay, if you've got a business that's totally customer based and all locked in, that's fine. But if you in fact are vulnerable to smaller and medium businesses on the fringe, they can attack you now in a way they could never before.
Certainly they can. But at the same time, medium-sized and large businesses have been looking at this. So offshoring and BPO has been something that's been around since the early 2000s. So what you'll find today is when you get your tax return done by a big accounting firm, it probably won't be done in Australia. It will probably be done by an Indian affiliate of theirs, where maybe there's 100 people or 50 people doing tax returns, and the local guys will just do the checking.
Yeah, but I'd pay the local rate.
That's exactly the point. That's the whole point.
But now I don't have to use that big accounting firm for the routine stuff.
That's right. I mean, you can get your tax return done for $10 on our website. I saw a guy the other day who do it.
I'd like to see the Indians do a GST return. That'll test them out.
I know they can. I'm sure they can. Absolutely, yeah.
Where do you take, what would your business look like in 3 years' time, do you think?
Well, it's all about scale. So what we're doing now is really focusing on just building it up as big as we can. I mean, we're at 2.5 million users now. We want to get to 25 million users.
What sort of staff do you need to do this?
Well, being a website, it's quite good because you're quite scalable. So you don't scale the staff in terms of as you scale the traffic. So we are looking to grow, and we are looking to hire good engineers and good designers. If anyone's out there wants a job, send me a CV. But the great thing about internet businesses is you can scale without having to put a lot of staff on.
What's the revenue model?
Okay, it's a bit like PayPal and eBay together. So what happens is you come along, you post a project that will cost you $5. We refund that money to you when you pick someone. As you pay people, we charge the employer 3% or $3, whatever's higher. We charge the worker 10% or $5, whatever's higher. So effectively what happens is all the money goes through us, and we take a commission of the funds as workers are paid. For a worker, it's free to sign up and it's free to bid, and we only charge you as you start making money.
Okay. So as this gets bigger,
yep.
the revenue gets quite large.
That's right, yes.
Do you have any rivals?
We do. They come in different shapes and sizes. In the US, there's two incumbents that had raised $100 million and had 10 years head start, and we're now beating them in terms of users and traffic and so forth, which has given us a lot of...
Why? What are you doing that beats them?
I think we've got a model which is better for growth. So the US incumbents, they have a more profitable model, but they do things like they charge freelancers to bid on projects, they charge freelancers to actually sign up and so forth, which is, it's great for profitability in the short term, but it's not good for the long term. In addition, there's a number of vertical players as well that are around. So, for example,
vertical players? Sorry.
Yeah. So, for example, in Australia, there's a company called 99 Designs, and they focus purely on the vertical niche of logo design.
Yep.
And so, it's only in graphics, only in logo design, and outsourcing and so forth. And they provide a very rich vertical experience in that particular space. There's a bunch of people like that in the verticals.
What about Europe? Is there anything there?
There are a bunch of small players. We bought a bunch of them. We bought one in Germany. We bought one in the UK, and so forth. There's a couple left. But there are some regional players, but they're mainly domestic players. So they're mainly, for example, in the UK, for employers in the UK, outsourcing to the UK.
And because you're so big, I guess you get a lot of people bidding through your site.
That's right. So on average, you get between 60 and 80 people bidding on your project. But I checked the other day, and at the time, there's about 50 projects with over 1,000 people bidding. And you could hire all of them if you wanted to. So you could actually assemble an army if you wanted to, overnight.
That's a big change.
Yep.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you very much.